Hello, everyone. Welcome to the December 2020 Legacies and Lunch, a program of the Central Arkansas Library System's Butler Center for Arkansas Studies. I'm Heather Register Zabindin, the Outreach Coordinator for the Bobby L. Roberts Library of Arkansas History and Art. The Roberts Library houses the galleries at Library Square, the Butler Center for Arkansas Studies, and the Encyclopedia of Arkansas. The galleries at Library Square is now open on Wednesdays and Fridays from 10 to 5 and Saturdays from noon to 5. No appointments are necessary. Come and view the galleries and shop our retail space. The Roberts Library Research Room is open Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 until 5, but you'll need to call our main number, which is 501-320-5700, to make an appointment and to request your materials at least 2 business days in advance. Please go to robertslibrary.org for all the specifics before planning your visit. And for specific details about a CALS branch near you, the dates and times that they're open, please go to cals.org for all that specific information. We will continue doing lots of virtual programming for the foreseeable future. You can find most of these programs archived at CAL's YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to fill your feeds with interesting, fun, and educational content. The speaker will answer questions at the end of the session. Please type your questions in the chat box on Zoom. We're also live streaming this program to YouTube today. So if you have friends who normally watch on Robert's Facebook page, please tell them to go to YouTube. Facebook hasn't been working out lately. So for today's program, I want to thank you for joining us for Legacies and Lunch, now in its 21st year. Today, we have Equilla Marie Walker, a local artist whose retrospective exhibition features soulful images reflected in black and white, color, and mixed media from her more than 20 years as a photographer. This exhibition is on display at the galleries at Library Square now through January 30th of 2021. So we're going to start today's Legacies with a short video of the exhibition. So give me just a second to switch screens, get everything lined up.
Art exhibition opening at 2nd to Walker, Vision from the Lens of My Soul. Galleries at Library Square, Loft Gallery. Equilla Marie Walker's retrospective exhibition features soulful images reflected in black and white, color, and mixed media from her more than 20 years as a photographer. Walker, who studied at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff and Clark Atlanta University, currently works as a teaching artist for the Crystal Bridges in the Classroom program in Little Rock. Her latest projects also include developing creative content and residencies for the Walker has had solo exhibitions at the CAL's Sue Cowan Williams Library as part of the Emerging Artists Program, CAL's D. Brown Library, CAL's Hillary Rodham Clinton Children's Library and Learning Center, and, upcoming, the Argenta branch of the William F. Laman Library. Walker was selected by the Arkansas Arts Council as an Arts in Education artist for the state of Arkansas. Walker provides engaging art and STEAM programming and residencies to kindergarten through 12th grade students and through partnerships with nonprofits, community organizations, and governmental agencies. See more of her work and projects at Equilla Marie Photography and Equilla Marie Creative on her website, Facebook, and Instagram.
So that is a little overview of the exhibit that is in our Loft gallery. And now I am going to bring Equilla in. Yay! It worked.
Yay!
Welcome to Legacies and Lunch.
Thank you so much, Heather. I'm so excited to have this discussion with you this afternoon. And I'm just excited about being able to have the exhibit at the Library Square Gallery also.
Well, we're excited to have it there. I love that gallery. It's, it's upstairs and it's a little small, but I just think it's such a neat environment. Let me go ahead and share the PowerPoint.
Okay.
And we can get started talking about some of these pieces.
Awesome.
Okay. Whoops. I went too far. There we go. Let's get started with this one. So this Gordon Parks Tribute 1. Wow. I mean, when you see it compared to the original, it's really powerful.
Yeah. I loved Gordon Parks' work. I kind of was inspired very early on. After college, I decided that I was a business major in college. So after college, I said, well, I've always been interested in photography. Is it too late in life to start photography or start something new? And so what I started doing was taking night classes in photography. So in the class, we were introduced to several different artists. And this one was taken as a kind of a tribute to one of his most famous portraits, which is American Gothic. And Grant Woods was the original painter who painted the American Gothic portrait, but Gordon Parks, I believe his was dated in 1945, I believe, that he did a tribute to his kind of interpretation of this. So I love taking pictures of children. And so I wanted to just kind of take this and do a kind of a tribute to him. So and there's some more backstory. I'm not sure if our audience is really familiar with who Gordon Parks was, but as one YouTube story discussed him, he was a kind of a Renaissance man. He was a writer. He was a pianist. He was a photographer. He actually didn't even pick up a camera until he was 25 years old. So when I started taking my photography class, I say, oh, it's not too late. If Gordon Parks didn't pick up a camera until he was 25, then I still have a chance. So I just ultimately inspired by his work. He wrote the book, The Learning Tree. He was the producer and writer of the movie Shaft. I think maybe a lot of people may be familiar with. But right. It's so many things he had his hand in. He was one of the co-founders of Essence Magazine, one of the top African-American magazines of today also. So just ultimately inspired by his creativity. He was one of 16 children, if you can believe, 16. I have my hands full right now with 4 children, Heather. So just his story, if you take a look at it, and he would really tell a story with his pictures. And I think that kind of resonated with me. Just being able to tell a story. What's the story behind the picture? What is this one? What is the person saying? His American Gothic picture was of a woman in DC that he took a picture of, Ella Wells. And he was given a task of telling a story about what was going on in DC in 1946. It was a lot of racial lines that were divided. And so he met Ella Wells, and he was so moved by her story, he felt like he had to capture her and be able to tell this story. And a lot of people thought, Heather, that this picture was a little bit too much. But it's one of the pictures that he's really known for. And again, I just wanted to capture this tribute, put my spin on it, and I love this, again, take pictures of children. So this is just my tribute to him. And I actually had a chance to meet him. And I cannot find that picture that I have when I met him all the way back in, I think it was 1999, 2000, that I met him at my first job at the Museum of African American History in Detroit, Michigan. He was giving an exhibit at the Detroit Institute of Arts, and he came right across the street to the Museum of African American History. And I was able to get in and get a picture with him. And I was just overwhelmed. You just meet a rock star almost. You're like, wow. So, but that's kind of the story behind that picture.
Yeah, I read that on your blog. I think that you had met him, and yeah, those moments are so incredible when you get to meet someone who you've admired, or like you said, a rock star.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next one. So there we go. So I love hats, and I love the incredible, those old pictures of women in their clothes with the, just all done up. And this, I was telling you earlier, you have a number of these, but this is the one I picked because I really, really like this hat. And she is just so regal. Talk about capturing women in this, this look. It's incredible.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of twofold. Again, this is Women in Hats, and I think it dates back to 2000, may have been earlier than that. But this was actually one of the projects that I had when I first started photography. And this was taken with a 35 millimeter camera. This is way before digital. I wasn't using digital at the time. But I think being able to capture women in this light is a part of a tradition that I hold dear. It's just the whole tradition of storytelling. Being able to tell a story, when you look at her eyes, it's kind of like a happiness, or it could even be a pain behind her eyes. But that day she had this confidence walking into church that day. It was actually, we went to my professor's church, and we had advertised we were going to be capturing women in hats. So there were a line of women lined up as we captured their picture. But I think it's important because the pictures I have today of my grandmother, I actually the only picture I have of my grandmother's mother was maybe when my grandmother's mother was 16 years old. So you think about that is such why it is so important to catch, not just a young picture, because I hate to see, on obituary, we have these young pictures of individuals, and I'm pretty sure at that point in their life, it was just a lot that they didn't know. Their wisdom came as they got older. So I love to capture pictures like this because it talks about all what they experienced in their life, the confidence that they hold, the experience that they can take on to the next generation. So I just love to capture women like this and just tell a story, leave a legacy through pictures with their family.
Did you use any filters? I mean, it's the white background and then her, the striking of her dark suit and her dark hat. But it is, I mean, it is just gorgeous.
This was 35 millimeter Minolta. If we have any camera heads out there, it was a Minolta camera and it had black and white film in the camera. So no filters. I didn't even know about filters back then and all these things. Now, I've used some filters just to, play around with different software we have nowadays. But this sheet is probably a bed sheet. Yes, we didn't have Amazon and we weren't ordering multiple backdrops. So you can see how simple these pictures, how, it is easy to create a classic portrait with just a lighting setup, a bed sheet, a simple camera, black and white slide film, and to create just to create a story with this so simple items.
Let's take a moment to talk about your education. You said you were a business major. So did you get the business degree or did you switch majors?
No, I don't know. In my head, it's something that I've always struggled with. I've always loved business, but I've always been this creative person. So, I can look back, my mom, she loves to tell the story of how I used to sit on the floor in my bedroom. I don't know how old I was. I was counting pennies, but that was my thing. I would sit up and I would just count pennies back to back. So I knew I was going to be in some form of fashion in business, but I always loved being creative, whether it was putting together beads, whether it was watching my grandmother quilt or knit. It was all those things inspired me. And where I grew up, my grandmother's actually from Arkansas. So those are kind of how I have my Arkansas roots. But I went to the University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, UAPB, go Lions. And I majored in finance. Yeah. So I think it was that itch. My senior year, I had the opportunity to take a photography class, but I said, I don't want to mess up my GPA. And I just had so much going on that I decided just to wait. So my first job out of college was actually a volunteer position at the Museum of African American History in Detroit. And I said, okay, I got to get this photography bug out. I'm going to go. And it was a night class, Detroit Public Schools. I signed up for it. And it was a certification process. So for any of those who feel like, it might be too late, or if you have this, urge to try this creative bug, there are always continuing education classes. I'm an advocate for that. All of the classes, a lot are online now. So I would say that just to encourage people to move on, even though, it may be later in life, but just to go ahead and move on and get those creative juices flowing.
Well, and some might say that you were smart to get a business or finance degree because in so many ways, art is a business. And yes, having those kind of skills are so important to make sure that you can make a living at the art that you choose to do.
Yes, I've actually found it to be invaluable because even right now, I have a workshop business that I do, Equilla Marie Creative, and it kind of was a spinoff from doing exhibits that I said, oh, well, I do mixed medium. I ended up doing a workshop on collage, which is one of the techniques that I use in my artwork. And they said, hey, can you do a workshop or art demonstration? I said, oh yeah, sure. The response was amazing. So I would just say, and I have virtual schooling for kids. So if you hear someone try to break out of their room right now, that's the noise. But I would say, I said, oh, wow, there's such a need for others to experience art firsthand and kind of get away from your everyday, whatever the stresses are that you're doing, whether you're 5 years old or whether you're 80 or 90 years old, it's always a way to use art to kind of help, just help you just relieve any stresses that you may have going on. So
Do you do the
basically,
classes for adults and kids?
sorry.
Do you do the classes for adults and kids?
Oh yes, I do. I do. Usually, I partner with libraries to either give it to their adult platform, or if it's the children's library part, then I actually have classes that cater to all ages, really. But those business skills, to what you asked me earlier, those business skills came in hand because I said, okay, here's a product. I'm the product, and I'm offering the service to, and who are what's my market, what's my target market. I would put together a portfolio, and I would just send it out to those individuals. And those business skills, again, have become invaluable to just marketing myself as an artist, because it's really become a second career. I was a brand manager at Alltel. Go figure. Yeah. So now a little later in life, I've said, you know what? I just want to do what makes me happy.
Mhm.
What makes me happy. And those, just going back to those basics, art, photography, history, those are the things that make you happy. Well, make me happy.
I think they make a lot of us happy. Those
Yeah.
things. Yeah. So let's talk about these wonderful book brothers.
Yes.
Um, such a cute set of photographs. Are these your sons?
They are not. I actually had they're models. Um, but they were models that actually went to my children's school. And so I would see them come in dressed pretty sharp every day. And I had a vision of what I wanted to create, how I wanted my audience to be inspired. And it kind of just popped that, hey, I got this idea. The mom dressed them up. She did a wonderful job. She's a stylist here locally. She dressed them up. We went downtown Little Rock. Matter of fact, this is right downtown.
It's my seniors.
Yes, right there. So we came together and did a really great job on putting this just an ideal that I had in my head. And again, I love working with children and just inspiring others to see portraits in life in a different way by having children as the models. So
They're great. They really are. I saw these immediately. I knew exactly where it was because this is right by Library Square, the location. But yeah, I love them. I love them sitting there with their books. I love these book straps that you got. Those are, it's just those little touches, those little sentimental touches are great.
yes, and I love before we move
Oh,
that those pictures really, it's kind of just to help. I'm the mother of 4 children. I have 2 sons and 2 daughters, and it's important to inspire them to read. It's a challenge sometimes getting mine to read. Some, like, one may like math, one may like art. You'll always find them playing with their Legos, but it's important to show representation. Have pictures in libraries and museums of all different ethnicities. And so, in order to make my contribution to that, I wanted just to show this with African American young men in a positive light, with all these very intricate details. Those are my son's belts. Those are library books that I got from the library, Sue Cowan Williams Library, which is my local library. Awesome things, just, and I don't know, just the very little touches, Heather, I love. Those are books I got from the library that talk about African American artists. Horace Pippin, and then there's the other one there also. But just to take a look at those details, I've gotten an overwhelming response. But by working, and we're going to talk about this later, by working with Crystal Bridges, Marshall, one of my favorite artists, he just talks about how important it is for representation, African Americans in all institutions. So I'm definitely an advocate of that.
I totally agree. I was watching last night Debbie Allen's Hot Chocolate Nutcracker on Netflix. Maybe should not promote that, but it's fabulous. It's so fabulous, and what she's done for African Americans in the dance world is really incredible. I mean, I remember her from Fame, so and she talked a lot about that, like representation, being able to see somebody who looks like you in the field that you want to pursue is really important.
And something as simple as reading, just to see, like, man, they look like me. Oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Let me go get my book. They may not even know words yet, but I think the art that we have in our homes and also in institutions, the billboard, in the media, everything is subliminal. You know, I can remember as a child, all the pictures my mom had in her house. I can remember seeing those because she has all those pictures now. But you just think about how art inspires you when you're thinking about it and when you're not thinking about it. So I think this representation is very important. And I wanted to make sure I translated that image in my work.
Yep, reading is important. We like it a lot here at the library.
Yes.
So this picture, wow, this is powerful.
Yes. I see something different every time I look at this picture. You know, clearly it is an older gentleman, and he just got finished voting. You see his voting sticker on that he voted today. And I appreciate you guys putting this out this year, the very day that early voting started, and just inspiring not just our younger generation to be excited about voting, but about how many times has he voted? What has he seen, you know, transpire throughout his life that he's still motivated to get up, early voting and go out and vote. And what you can't see, that he's actually on a cane at this point. I believe I did this picture, let me see, it was 2000, I get my dates mixed up. But this was actually Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton presidential election. So what is it, almost about 4 years ago that I took this picture. He has since passed, but his name is Lee Walker, Deacon Walker, that he's known to those who love him. He's from, he was actually originally from Prescott, Arkansas, and he resided a long time in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. All right. Just some really quick details about him, because this is, to me, a really important picture, as they all are to me. But just the story behind it. He was born in 1922. All right. He passed at, I believe he passed at about 90, I'm gonna be corrected on this, about 94 years old. So he has lived a long life. All right. This is my grandfather-in-law. And at one point in time, during the time I took this picture, my 5-year-old, not yet baby, my 5-year-old. When I took this picture, I was actually living with him in the family house. My family, we were deciding to live in Pine Bluff. We were deciding to live in Pine Bluff for just to see how it was for a period of about 6 months. And so every morning we would get up and he would want his coffee and he would want his egg cooked just right. And so I finally got it just right. So I said, Papa, I said, when are you going to vote? I want to come and take a picture of you. When are you going to vote? So he told me and I coordinated the time. And so that's when we captured this picture. But one of the interesting things that he would always tell stories. He was known for telling his folk tales and fables, and always for 50 years he was a deacon in the church there in Pine Bluff. Yeah. So one of the interesting things about this story is after he served as a marksman in the war in World War II, that he came back and he went to AM&N College, which was, UAPB. And he majored in carpentry, and he was actually one of the ones who built the historic bell tower on UAPB's campus. So, you just never know the stories behind people. And I think that's one of the things that motivate me about taking pictures, is being able to tell these stories and capture it. Because it's one thing to tell stories, Heather, orally, but when you have pictures, I have several pictures of him too. When you have pictures of a person, that just makes much even better connection with, telling it to your children or telling it to your great grandchildren, or even telling it to somebody, who doesn't even know this person, but it's making the story come to life. And I'm sorry if I'm talking too much.
No. The things that he saw in his life, so he went and he fought in a war for a country that did not consider him a first-class citizen. He did not have the right to vote when he went to fight for this country. He saw the Voting Rights Act passed. And, I can only imagine. I mean, I know as a white person, my grandmother felt like she voted for, if the polls were open, she went and voted. It was so important to her to get to the polls and vote. And so I hope that younger people will understand how important that it's not, that it's not just a given. A lot of people fought and died to have that right. And it's the most important thing we have in this country, I think. So yeah, this was an important picture for us to be able to use with the early voting. I was, it just, how things kind of all come together. So we've got early voting and, in this very important election, and then this picture comes across. And so, yeah, we used it, to promote your exhibit, but to also say, don't forget to go vote.
Right. Yeah. And they're just, and I've been trying to capture some of the stories that he would tell us. You have older people and they'll tell you stories over and over and over again. But guess what? When they're gone, those are the ones that you remember because you would have heard it 20 times. But they're so important. He had war stories. He had stories, just, his experience with, just being a deacon in the church and how important it is to put God first. So those are the things that inspired us, inspired me about just making sure I captured him in quite a few pictures. And I'm glad I did to do this. And he was, again, like I said, he was also a veteran. So that's saying a lot. He was one of the highest, I guess, marksmen in his area when he was shipped off to Japan. So he, I'm pretty sure he's never been there before that, but just to say how he loved his country, he loved the rights and the freedoms that we have, and how important it is to tell those stories about our family and our friends.
One of the things that we're doing, I'll put a plug in for our oral history projects that we're doing. We're putting recorders in our branches so people can check them out and capture those stories, on tape. You can also do it with Zoom. Zoom's a great thing right now for oral history.
Oh, yes.
Get them. I know a lot of grandparents who are able to use Zoom. They're getting into technology so that they can see their grandkids in this crazy pandemic time. But capturing those stories are so important, right? But just like you said, before they're gone. So what a fabulous picture. Thank you for this.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we've got one more. Yes. Wow. I mean, another powerhouse. And I'm going to go ahead and give it away. This is not Washington, D.C., ladies and gentlemen. This is Capitol. This is Capitol Street in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I was even fooled by that initially. So talk about this.
Well, there are quite a few things, and I think it's quite relevant to where we are with our country, where we are in the world right now. This is my son. He's 5 years old. And I think going back to what I talked about as far as Gordon Parks, photographer, extraordinary Renaissance man, just inspiring me. One of the things that Gordon Parks said was, the job of a photographer is to capture the times that you're in. So constantly I'm thinking about, what can I be capturing in this moment in time, in history, that will speak to those looking at this picture 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 50 years, 100 years from now, looking at that, what was going on in the world, but just not just that, but breaking it down as what was going on in the photographer's eyes. So to me, this picture talks to, and again, he's holding a sign called Black Lives Matter. And just as a mom, African-American mom of 4 children, of 2 sons, I have a 13-year-old and I also have a 5-year-old. What we have to have, Black moms have to have conversations with our children about how to act, what to expect, to save their life. So that is a talk we have to have with them. And again, I was talking with you earlier, Heather, about, in their eyes right now, the only difference that is a different color crayon. When you're talking about those of different ethnicities, they just know to use a different color crayon. But it's like, at what point do we have to have those conversations with them? When they're 7, when they're 8, you're thinking they're so innocent. My son's 13 and, he has friends, Mexican Americans, Latin Americans. He has friends, he's in middle school right now. And, again, it's not that much different, but I have to have those conversations with him. I have to have those conversations with my daughter too. And so I just, not to get really heavy about the subject, but I just wanted to just capture what was going on right now in 2020 through my eyes, through my lens, and just as a mom about the things that we think about. So I just challenge those who are listening and may hear this, that, we have to have, as African-American moms and parents, those conversations with our children. Then I challenge you to have those conversations with your children, because those are our future leaders. Those are our future individuals who will be in the Capitol building that's right there behind my son. So if we have those conversations now, we may not have as many challenges, hopefully, or reduce by the time they are making those decisions in that building that's behind them. So
yeah, I think that a lot of white Americans had no idea the kind of conversations that um, Black American moms and dads have to have with their kids. And we've tried to have conversations with our son about, that it is important to know what is going on in the world right now, with Black Lives Matter, with the pandemic, um, and how important it is to see to see the protests happening. That's another one of these things that we often take for granted, that that we're allowed to do that in this country. So wonderful
right.
picture. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. And the other thing I wanted to add, if I can,
Mhm.
we Gordon Parks also inspired. He said that he chooses the camera as one of his weapons. Um, so as a mom, when a lot of the protests were going on, I'm at home protecting my children. Um, so it's like, how can I contribute and how can I say that I protest some of the injustices that are going on in our country? So as a creative, what we can do is that we can talk about these things in our art. We can talk about it behind the lens. We can talk about it in our painting, in our drawing, in our literature, in our poetry. And I commend those artists who are, they may be at home, but I commend them for picking up and continuing and just going at it hard as far as making sure they're capturing the feeling of what's going on right now. And I don't want the story of all the moms that are working hard behind the scenes to keep everything going right now. I wanted to add that about the women in hats. Also, that the moms and the dads really, but the moms sometimes have to get overlooked. So, I have friends right now who are juggling full-time jobs at home, virtual schooling their kids, making sure dinner, lunch, and breakfast are on the table, and just juggling all those things that we have, but trying to keep their families safe. So I'd love for artists to be able to, like Gordon Parks, what are we doing to capture the moment right now? So I encourage artists to also tell those stories of those women and those moms who are working hard behind the scenes every day right now.
Another thing that we're doing at the library is we're collecting COVID stories, and it can be a written story. We have a questionnaire people can fill out, but it can also be a work of art, photographs, to document this very different time. I mean, we haven't been through this in 100 years,
Right.
and it is challenging. As a mom doing virtual school, you and I have talked about it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. My math is getting much better. I'm much better at grade math this time than I was um, my own sixth grade.
Yeah, I can't really say the same about me, but I feel good though, Heather, when I'm reading the stories. My son, he asked me, he said, Mommy, what do you like better? You like art? You like social studies and English? Because those are the subjects that I handle. Their dad handles, the science and the math. And I said, you know what? I cannot pick one, because to me, art inspires, I get up on my high horse. Art inspires social studies. It inspires us in history. History inspires English. And so they say, oh, Mom, okay, never really looked at it that way. So um, I'm learning too, to
Yeah.
say the least.
They always want to have a favorite subject. You got to have a favorite subject, right? But yeah, I'm with
Right.
you. I liked a lot of them. I wasn't crazy about math, though. I will admit that. Uh,
Yes.
Before we open it up to questions from our audience, I want to give you the chance to talk a little bit about any obstacles that you feel like you faced or had to overcome in this journey from getting a finance degree to embracing your creative side?
Sure. I would say the challenges were just to be a little bit more confident. I had a lot of confidence and book knowledge in finance and business, but sometimes I probably would be a little bit intimidated by those who went to art school or been working in the field for a long time. Or I remember I had an exhibit not too long ago, and the curator said, "Well, don't you know this?" or "Don't you know this?" And I'm like, "I don't know that," but I know how to take a picture. I know how to tell a story. And so those were the things. So it's just, a matter of becoming confident and being able to put great work out there, tell the stories behind your art. So I think that's a constant journey that I'm working with, but those are some of the things, the challenges I would come up with against.
And who were your mentors or supporters? I mean, we always have people who are fueling us from behind, whether we really realize it at the time or not.
Yes. But I would say God has always been my cheerleader. So I think that sometimes when not feeling motivated, I would just pray about it. I would pray about it and say, guide me in the way that am I supposed to go. And it could be coming in the form. It could, there's my 8-year-old singing. It could come in the form of a dream. It could come in the form of a person coming to you and saying, "You know what? I really like the stories you tell in your work. Maybe you need to do that a little bit more, you know." So, but directly, my mom, she's been my supporter, my dad, my family, my kids, they constantly inspire me as they creep through the kitchen right now and thinking I can't hear them. They constantly
legacies and lunch.
right, right. They're like, "Mommy, where's lunch?" In just a second, baby. So yeah, I think they constantly inspire me. I mean, literally, they will say some things that I'm like, man, I didn't think about that. Coming from an 8-year-old or a 5-year-old, or my daughter, she'll draw in her book, and it's just a different way of looking at something that you'll be like, wow, I never looked at it that way. So I would say that my family has always been my cheerleader.
So tell us about the Crystal Bridges thing, I'm going to get it wrong. Tell me about the Crystal Bridges thing.
So, last year I met a great group of artists, Colleen. Hi, Colleen. Colleen, and also April Sutterfield. They are part of a group called Arts Integration. And it's just that, Heather. It's about bringing arts and integrating it into the classroom, teaching students with art, teaching students about subjects that they do every day, the math, the science, the social studies, but using art to do that, okay? Crystal Bridges is, again, a part of the Arts in the Classroom program that I worked on as an individual artist. But basically, Crystal Bridges sponsored a program that allowed for teaching artists to go into the classroom. And right now it was Little Rock School Districts. It's actually still going on because we've been doing Zoom residency, which have been very effective. Zoom residencies, we've worked with schools like Eastham, and we worked with some schools in Pine Bluff. But basically using the collection at Crystal Bridges to teach art in a way that inspires them, and they learn about, subjects, again, social studies, English, or what have you. So we create a weeks-long residency where they're introduced to a variety of different artists, but then we take one piece, we create taking the curriculum standards that the Arkansas state standards are, matching that with what they're doing in the classroom and using art to teach them. All right. So just like teaching anything, you got to learn it in different types of ways. You know, right now I'm working with my kindergarten. So you have to tell them, you have to show them, and then you have to do it in another kind of way. So I think at any age, you know, it helps us to learn in that way. But when you're taking art and inspiring children through art to learn about history, it's like something that they'll be able to take with them and recall that 20 years from now. Oh, I learned about that. When Crystal Bridges, teaching artist, came to our classroom, that's what we talked about. And we created this beautiful piece of art that we were able to show. So those are some of the great things that I'm working with a group of artists with arts integration to bring to the classroom right now.
Art is so important in the classroom. I remember, I think I've said this probably on this program before or on some recorded thing, but the things that I remember from particularly elementary school were the field trips to the art center or to a museum. They were when someone special came into the class to teach us about art. And I mean, I went to an art magnet, and so we had art around us all the time, but integrating it, you know, it unfortunately gets pushed to the side, just like music, and integrating it into the classroom is so important to keep it relevant, because it's fun and it's educational and it's entertaining, and kids can relate to it in a way you can't necessarily relate to an algebra problem.
Right. And you know, art, it kind of just feels like recess sometimes.
Yes.
It feels like creative play. And so I really think that was what was significant about what we're doing with Crystal Bridges, is that, you know, before COVID and everything, a part of the art experience was to actually go to Crystal Bridges, to travel up there, to see the art that we talked about in the classroom. And another program I work with, I came into the classroom. I was working in Southeast Arkansas, and I think I did a whirlwind, about 10 schools in a week. It was like 2 weeks before everything shut down. So thankfully I was able to finish that project. But one of the little girls, she didn't even know who I was, but she was so excited to see someone. She ran over to me and she hugged me. And she said, "Are you Oprah Winfrey?" And I said, "No, but we're going to do some fun stuff today." So that just talks about how excited to have an outsider specializing in the arts area come in and just have that experience with children.
I love it. Are you? I love it.
Right. Are you Oprah Winfrey? Like, that's like the biggest thing she knew. So.
And you're also part of the Arkansas Arts Council Arts and Education Program. Talk just a second about that, because I used to work for Heritage, and so I know a little bit about it, but it's an incredible program.
Yes, and I'm so excited, and I'm really new to the program right now. About a few months ago, I was able to apply to the program. So what it is Arkansas Arts Council has arts and education program. So basically, it's a roster of pre-approved. We had to go through an interview, submit several pages of curriculum, talking about standards and talking about our experience in the classroom. But basically, it's a roster of artists that are coming into the classroom, partnering with either nonprofits, it could be libraries, it could be any kind of nonprofit that come into the classroom. And I'm saying classroom, but it could be a library that you go into. You can offer this program in libraries, you can offer it to veterans groups, but a roster of artists that basically helps to bring just creative kind of a residency type experience to individuals. So I'm excited to be to be a part of the program. And I'm actually looking for organizations to partner with to bring art experiences right now. One of the things that I'm interested in working with, again, veterans groups, it could be children's groups, boys and girls clubs, but we're able to offer virtual experiences and create custom programs to go with whatever the curriculum standards could be for a lot of children that are in virtual school right now. So
that's great. That
yes.
And the fact that we can transition somewhat easily to
yes.
the virtual environment, you know, and what better than art, you know, a visual environment in a visual virtual realm, so to speak.
Right. And then I think with a lot of people are concerned with they're not getting maybe all what an art program can offer because it's virtual. But believe me, the Arkansas Arts Council, they have a lot of grants that are available. So if you choose to work with one of the individuals, artists on the Arkansas Arts and Education roster, there are grants available for you to apply for to hire the artist to do a program for you. So that's one of the things that's so amazing about the Arkansas Arts Council is being able to provide this and fund programs to make sure art is staying relevant to individuals in our community, our children, our veterans, any different types of groups right now. So,
and to be honest, I had not thought about a library, and so my wheels are turning really quickly right
yes.
now.
Yes.
So
we need to talk, but yeah, yes, definitely, because the library qualifies for that.
Yeah,
qualifies for the grants, and they just need to partner with an artist to come in. So. Mm-hmm.
So we have a quick question from one of our participants. Derek says that his daughter wants to be a photographer and is a junior in high school. He says, is there a good program at a specific college in Arkansas that you would recommend?
Well, my route has been kind of a non-traditional route. I selected to go to a school in the evening to get my certification. So I'm not familiar with a lot of programs, but I tell you what, our children are online much more than you know it. So I would challenge her to figure out, to Google, what are the top programs in Arkansas right now, all right? As a 10th grader, she's in a unique opportunity because she's going to be taking her SATs coming up at the end of the year or next year. So I would challenge her to get the name of the chair that's over the department and just say, hey, I'm interested in your program. Because I wouldn't say necessarily a larger school over a smaller school. If you're looking at those as an option, I would just look at it as what can you offer that school, but also what can that school offer you? Because sometimes those experiences that follow you along are those smaller schools that can have a really great impact on your career. So I would take pictures every day. I don't care if it's with your iPhone. It's been a couple of times I've been in the grocery store, Heather, and I wish that I had my camera, mask and all, getting groceries, trying to go through the self-check line. And oh my goodness, I missed this portrait. I was really wanting to ask someone to take a picture with their phone of this gentleman and send it to me. So I was so mad that I didn't have my camera that day. So always have your camera ready.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you,
everybody,
guys.
Go see the exhibit. Mm-hmm. The galleries are open Wednesday and Friday from 10 until 5, and Saturdays from 12 until 5. It's up in the Loft Gallery. It's a great exhibit. Yeah, it's fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Heather. I had so much fun talking with you this afternoon. And again, thanks, Colin, over for just sending me an email. I had an exhibit over at the Hillary Clinton Children's Library. And I was like, oh, no one's seeing the exhibit. And Colin was like, we're moving it. I'm going to go get your things, or you're going to come to the gallery, and we're going to make it work. And so it was just a huge opportunity. And I thank you. It's a beautiful space. It's in the building where we would have First Art Fridays, which is one of my favorites. And we're still having it virtually. So definitely tune in for First Arts Friday. But I just appreciate you guys, this wonderful space. And then just making this just kind of aware to the individuals in our community.
Well, thank you. So everybody, next month will be Colin Woodward. He's going to talk about the Arkansas roots of Johnny Cash. So mark your calendars for Wednesday, January 6th, that's 2021 at noon. So we will be virtual again, and I will see everyone next year. Can't believe it's December.
I know, yes. All right. Thanks so much, Heather, again. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Equilla, if you're still there.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. So we're clear. Everybody's gone. That was fabulous. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
It was exactly what we needed. So go get those kids lunch, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.